Small minds want to shrink you. Small minds want to shrink you. I want to share some experiences that I have had in my life and things that we all go through, but I want you to know that the words that people try to use against you say more about them than they do about you. And something that I picked up a long time ago, it was actually Jasmine Star that I heard it from. She said, other people's opinions don't pay my bills. And if you really think about the life that you want to create, who you want to be, how you want to show up as a mom, how you want to show up as a woman, and how you want to show up in your life for other people, their opinions don't matter because when you know who you are and you stand firmly in your power, everything else will start to roll off your shoulders. And now I'm not saying that it's so easy and like, forget you, like, F you, right? F you, I don't care. Some of the comments hurt, they sting a little bit, but we are given labels by people who are not even in the ring with us, who are not even living the life that we desire to live. And I feel that they're projecting a lot of jealousy onto us. And so I want to give you some examples when someone is trying to shrink you. It's really not about you. And let's talk about this in light of like boundaries. When somebody fights back, when you try to put a boundary in place, they were benefiting from your lack of boundaries. They don't want you to have a boundary here because it no longer serves them. When you get brighter and bigger and show up more as yourself, somebody who feels stuck is going to try to pull you back down to their level. And we do not do this anymore. When you grow, someone who is afraid of their own potential might pull you back because I don't know, like you're getting too big, you're too much, you're selfish, you've changed. That was a big one that I used to get from my husband because he was scared of the change. He was scared we were becoming something else. He was scared that he wasn't going to measure up. So he was projecting a lot of his fears onto me. And you're unrealistic because maybe the dreams that you have in your life confront their own limitations. Maybe they're too afraid to jump in the ring, to throw their hat in there, to get their hands dirty, to fail publicly, to put themselves out there. And here you are doing it, and it scares them. Someone else's fear has nothing to do with you. Someone else's fear has nothing to do with your future. You are in full control of your life, and you get to choose how you want to live it. And we don't let small minds pull us back down. So, something that I have experienced in this past year is how some of the people that I grew up with are very small minded. And whenever I would put a boundary in place with this person or with these people, whenever I would step into that next version of me, I would be met with, like growing up in my younger years, I very much became a people pleaser. And I know we've talked about this on one of the past episodes this month, but the people pleasing tendencies tend to come from having emotionally immature adults in your life, emotionally immature people. And so you get punished or reprimanded or whatever for having big emotions. You're told you're too much, you're whatever. So you start to shrink back down. That's when you start to put everybody else's needs ahead of your own because subconsciously, what that imprinted on you is that their needs matter, your needs don't. So in my childhood, it was I would do something. I would be a kid and I would have a person who would have to go around to the rest of the family and tell them how awful I was, or how bad I was, or what I did, or something that they were ashamed of me about, or like whatever, right? And then it would get the other people in the family being like, why are you acting this way toward this person? Why are you doing this? When are you going to get over this? Right? I had somebody ask me recently, when are you going to get over your childhood trauma? Here's what I want to say. One, we all have childhood trauma. Two, some of us also have big T trauma. I have a lot of big T trauma in my history, and we don't just get over it like a bad haircut. It's not something that you get over. It is something that has shaped you into who you are. It is something that has created the patterns in your life that you're living right now. And we also get to heal a lot of those. I have healed a lot of my triggers from my past, but one big one that was sticking out to me is when this person would say things to everybody else, to the rest of the friend group, to the rest of whatever, my world as a child was really small. And as an adult, after this instance happened, it was only a few months ago, it wasn't that long ago, but after this situation happened, and I realized that this person was just lying about me, just lying about our relationship, lying about things that had happened, even the person on the phone with me, that I was just like, what is going on? Told me our stories didn't line up. And I was just like, you know what? Like, it's not my job to try to get you to understand my side. Like, I've just hit the point where I'm like, it's not my job. You can figure out who's telling the truth. I don't need to do that for you. And what I realized in that moment is that when I was a kid, my whole world would crumble because the people involved in these situations were my whole world. Now, as an adult, I've come to realize I have created a whole new world with new people in it, with my little family, completely separate of this dysfunctional pattern that plays out still. And they are trying to suck me back in to the dysfunction, to the unhealthy codependency patterns. And I'm no longer available for that. And so I want you to get to a place where you realize what you are and are not available for, and to begin to recognize. And it does get really tricky with family too. Family is really hard because when you start to grow and family wants to stay the same. And let's just go back to like the example of my husband. He would always say like, you've changed, you've changed, you've changed. And I used to think it was a really bad thing. But what I realized was that was his own limitations and his own fear, and he was projecting onto me because he was scared of the change that was happening, because maybe it's unfamiliar, right? The brain likes familiar, so therefore if it's unfamiliar, it's unsafe. Maybe it was this fear of like, oh my gosh, I could lose her, or oh my gosh, what if I don't measure up, or whatever it is, right? And when we start to step out of some of these unhealthy cycles that maybe you grew up in, maybe you have in a friend group, whatever it is, you will find they try to suck you back in and they pin you as the unhealthy one when you're probably the healthiest one. And so I want you to really think about that, because when you know who you are inside and you know why you're doing what you're doing and you are creating everything that you're creating, right? Again, going back to like, you are not responsible for the emotions of others. It doesn't matter what they think anymore. Your entire world will no longer crumble. So anything that you've picked up from your childhood, survival patterns, noticing when, let's just say like mom, when mom would go say something to this person and then this person would like get after me for it, my whole world would crumble because these were my people. These were my only people. And now you get a look at it. And this is how I looked at it when I was no longer playing a part in that like friend group and whatever. And even some of the family members who are very unhealthy still, my whole world doesn't crumble anymore. That was the biggest eye opener for me, was wait a second. I've created a new world over here. I'm not going back into this dysfunctional world. I'm not going to play a part in that anymore. And now I have a boundary in place. I limit my contact. I choose how I communicate with these people. I choose to not play a part in their delusion. I'm going to have my own delusion over here of dreaming big and creating a life that I want to create. And I don't want small minds to pull me back down and try to shrink me back to their level because they don't like what I'm doing. You get to do that for you too. That is the example I'm trying to leave here, is like, you get to do that. You are the woman who owns your power. And the next time that somebody tries to shrink you, I want you to remember that like, small minds don't get to define you. You do not have to waste any energy proving who you are, you just live it. I have made the energetic decision. Let's talk about an energetic decision. That is when you decide internally, when you feel that shift inside your body that you're like, I am no longer available for this anymore. And you really start living the way that you want to live, knowing who you are. That is freedom. That is pure freedom. Let me tell you, you stop worrying so much about what other people think of you. You realize that it doesn't matter who they run around and tell all about you because your whole world's not going to crumble anymore. You're no longer a child. And so, a lot of times when these parts of us come up and people say these things, they try to put these labels on it and they try to pull you back down to their level. You know that you don't have to anymore. You know who you are. You're firm in your foundation. You're firm in your boundaries. You love your life and you are living the life that you have created for yourself and for your family. And that is so powerful. And I want you to know that just because someone says it does not mean it's true. And I want you to ask yourself, when somebody says something to you that stings a little, I had, after this call with this person, I asked myself a lot of questions. Like, who said this to me first? Why am I feeling like my whole world's gonna fall apart? Is this truth? Or is this just a pattern I grew up in? Is this truth or is this just a habit to feel this way? Am I victimizing myself? I want you to ask yourself these questions because most likely it's not true. Anything that this person said is probably not true. They're probably projecting a lot of their fears and doubts and thoughts onto you because maybe someone else, maybe their own insecurities, put this voice inside their head saying, she's the unhealthy one. She's a bitch. She's too much. She's crazy. She's delusional. She's an ass. Like, whatever it is, right? Insert your own stuff that pops up here. And I want you to start rewriting your own story. You are not too much. You are never too much for the people who love you for you, for the husband who loves you for you, for your kids. They want you. They want the real you. They want the fun you. They want the mom that you feel inside that you desire to be, completely free of all the shoulds, right? Not having to raise your kids the way that you think you should, but raising your kids the way that you want without stressing over what is mom going to say to me or what is my sister going to say to me, whatever. Doesn't matter. Because small minds try to pull you back into old dysfunctional patterns. And you are not doing that anymore. You're selfish. That's one that I struggled with, like taking up space. I deserve to take up space. Tell yourself that. I deserve to take up space because a fear of mine that would come up, and this is where I noticed it was especially in coaching containers that I would be in. We'd have like Voxer support, and I would feel a little, let's say, self-conscious. I'd probably feel a little self-conscious if I was leaving a lot of Voxer messages to my coach. If I was having a lot of thoughts, a lot of breakthroughs, a lot of wins, a lot of whatever, and I would be leaving Voxer messages, I found myself apologizing. I'm so sorry I'm leaving so many messages. I just have a lot of thoughts. And I had a coach. She was incredible. It was Ali Kasaza. She is the one that I have been working with for the past few months. And she hopped on and she said, never be afraid to take up space. You can leave as many messages as you want. It's what you pay a coach for. You pay a coach to support you. And you also have to be open to receiving the support. And let me tell you, when you get out of your head and you stop doubting yourself and you stop thinking you're too much, it is so freeing. So I want you to envision your life without these thoughts. What would it be like if you never thought you were too much? If you never thought you were too selfish? If you never thought, oh my gosh, I can't change? What if everything in your life gets to be up and up and up? And you recognize the people who are trying to pull you back They're small minds. They're not living a life that they're happy in. So you get to surround yourself with people who lift you up, who cheer for you, who support you along the way. This is why I will always have a coach, and I will always be working on myself and putting myself in these containers of people who are building lives that a lot of us dream of, because that is what I choose to live. And if you're here, I believe this is what you choose to live to, and you're just a little unsure on how to continue growing, and it's feeling really hard with family, and you are like, I know I need some boundaries in place. And you're probably not running around being like, I need some boundaries. You're probably running around being like, oh my gosh, I wish my mom would stop saying that to me. Oh my gosh, why do I feel guilty when I do this? Why do I feel bad when this person says this to me? This is where I've got you. I offer one-to-one coaching, and I have a course called Boundary Mastery. It is a $97 course. It gets you started on setting boundaries in your life. It is so powerful. And I also have a full course called Mom Life Mastery. And if you do buy Boundary Mastery, you can use your $97 buy-in for that as a coupon code for the Mom Life Mastery course later. And then you look at every aspect of your life and how you're showing up, and you truly become the authority of your life. You learn boundaries, you learn systems in the home, how you want to show up as a mom. There's bonus in there on boundaries with your partner and how to communicate better and get the support that you need so that you truly create a life you're excited to wake up to. So if any of those interest you, their links are in the show notes. And if you loved this episode, it would be so helpful if you would leave me a 5-star review if that feels good for you, or share it on your Instagram stories. Just take a screenshot, share it, send it to a friend. It truly helps me get this out there so that I can help women like you create lives that you are really freaking excited to wake up to. And I will talk to you next time.